Clark is at some exhibit in Metropolis. He sees an armor and Lex tells him it belonged to Alexander the Great. Lana's also invited by Lex. She came with Whitney. Clark looks at Whitney and then walks off. Lex tells he will not win Lana if he keeps running from his enemy. Clark says Whitney isn't his enemy. A girl called Victoria then comes up to Lex. Outside, a guy is being beat up. The man holds up a police badge and tells the guy to get in the AI and get him the files. He gives him 24 hours. As Clark's outside, he sees a homeless person. A bus driver then suddenly has a heart attack and starts to veer off the road, hitting objects. As he's about to drive over the homeless man, Clark jumps in and stops the bus with his body. The bus shatters into pieces, but Clark comes out unharmed. Clark runs off as people come outside. We see the same cop come up to the bus and looks around. Martha asks him how his night was. He tells him about the bus crash. They tell him they're proud of him. The cop asks a security guard for some files. On the pictures we see it as Clark. Lex wants to know why Victoria is here. She says her father knows Lex has issues with his father and hopes this can be used to their mutual advantage. Lana asks what happened last night. He says he wasn't feeling well. The principal tells Chloe he doesn't like her publishing on the side effects of the meteor rocks. He then suspends Chloe. Lana says she'll talk with him. At the cafe, the cop, Phelan, approaches Lex. He used to work for them to fix situations. He says he's looking for the person on the photo. Lex says he doesn't know him. Clark hears some noise at the barn. He sees the cop badge on the floor. Just then, a large generator falls on top of Clark. Phelan did this purposely. He says he wants Clark's help, but Clark rejects him. Phelan says he will expose his secret if he doesn't help out and tells him to come tomorrow to the coffee shop. Clark tells about the incident and says he saw him stop the bus, that he's a cop. Jonathan is upset and says he'll talk to him himself. As Clark's reflecting, Lex visits him. He tells him about the Metropolis cop who came to him, that the official investigation is actually already closed. He tells him to be careful of Phelan, as they turned to him when they had legal problems. He is someone who will do anything to get the job done by planting evidence and falsifying reports, but Clark says he just wanted to talk. At the cafe, Jonathan meets Phelan. He says he wants Clark's help. Jonathan won't allow it. Phelan says he has seen the police reports that Clark's been around crime scenes. Jonathan says he'll give him anything, but he needs to stay away from his family. Phelan then blackmails Jonathan. He takes him down, but then lets him go. Lana says that Kwan, the principal, allows them to proceed but made her the new editor. Chloe is upset about this. Lana says this is the best option for now, and Clark backs her up. Chloe is sad and says she thought Lana was her friend. Phelan tells Clark to get in the car and blocks his way. He threatens Clark. Lex tells Victoria that her father wants to take over Luthor Corp and needs his shares to do it, but that this is actually her plan. He says, why take one company when you can take two? She likes this idea. Clark's at Metropolis. Phelan tells him to break in for some files in a safe from the Internal Affairs. He tells him if he does it, he will never trouble him again. Clark breaks in, finds the safe with his X-ray. He then drops the safe on top of Phelan's car. Phelan's surprised. Clark then smiles. He then hands him the files while he called the cops on him. Phelan's surrounded by the police. The next day, Clark tells his parents that Phelan's out of their lives forever, but police knocks at the door and says they have a warrant to search their property. A tip came in from Metropolis PD. Another cop says he found something. They find then a man who has been shot in their barn. The cop says he also found a gun under the truck seat. Jonathan says it's not his. He's placed under arrest. Clark stops them, but Jonathan tells him to stop and be strong. Clark's frustrated and angry. Phelan appears and says that's what he gets for being a hero. Phelan is angry and threatens Clark further. Clark grabs him and wants his father out. Phelan says he doesn't want any more surprises and he'll be in touch. At prison, Clark tells Jonathan he saw Phelan last night and broke into the safe. Jonathan's not happy about this. He tells him about Phelan coming back and that he wanted to kill him. Jonathan tells him he can't cross that line. Lex warns him of Phelan, but Clark rejects his help. Phelan arrives at the barn and says they have one last business. He tells him to think of his dad, that he'll lose everything just by paying the legal fees, but he can make it disappear. As they drive off, Lex follows them. They arrive at the museum and he wants the armor of Alexander. He tells Clark to rip off the lid. He calls the Metropolis Museum and tells them there's a bomb outside, and then disables the cameras. Outside, Lex opens the mailbox which contains a package. Clark bends the steel and then breaks the glass. Lex opens the package and he finds a ticking clock in it. Phelan takes the armor and says they'll make a great team and puts it in his bag. Clark says they'll never be a team and then throws the bag outside. Clark tells him that his fingerprints are all over that breastplate. Phelan says he might be strong but he's not bulletproof. He then shoots. Clark sees the bullet coming and is easily able to avoid it as well. He then disappears. Phelan's panicking and says what he is. Security arrives. Phelan shoots at them, but they shoot back and take him down. Lex asks him what he had on Clark. He tells him to go to hell and then dies. Jonathan says that all the charges have been dropped. He says there's more than one Phelan out there. Clark asks what they should do. Jonathan says they'll have to deal with it when the time comes. Clark says he should perhaps stop using his gifts. Martha tells him he shouldn't live in fear. Jonathan tells him to be cautious. Martha asks if no one saw him last night. He says he's positive. At school, Lana wrote an article against Quan. He then decides to let Chloe back into the torch as long as she can prove what she writes. Chloe apologizes to Lana and says it's the only thing she and Clark do together, but Lana assures her that she will not get between her and Clark. She says they're just good friends. We then see Lex looking at security footage and he sees a shadow.